on board of our Sirius 35 DS. I'm Thorsten Schmidt, I'm the owner of the Sirius company, and it's my pleasure to show you around and explain you a bit about the special features of this boat. Yes, being in the cockpit of the Sirius 35 DS, the first feature which might strike you as different to other boats is the wheel position. The wheel position in this very moment is very far over to the side, and it's quite a small wheel. The good thing is on that we can sit out here on the coaming and have the wheel just next to us, can lean on the guardrail, and while we are moving the wheel, as it's a small wheel, we are not making this big movement with the big wheels and then just this small movement. It's quite relaxed to sit here. The special thing is we only have one wheel, which is now on this side, but this is of course not the only possibility. We can cant the wheel over. So here's a little pedal where we step on, and then we can bring the wheel into the middle position, which brings it quite far up, which is good for smaller persons. They could even stand up here and have the wheel in front of them, and it's very good for harboring, especially if you're on a small crew. If you do that with a small crew, because the wheel is small and you can go next to it, you can pass it very easy if you want to go to the spring ropes or have to work with ropes. Well, and if a big cruise liner is going over to this way and is going out of your vision, you just turn the wheel over to the other side and sit over here and have a nice view under the sails or into your telltales, or see the big cruise liner again on this side. The canting wheel system, which is made by Werft Steering, which are world leaders in steering systems, is very reliable. It is a very easy system, a very simple system, which is originally made for racing boats, but have to be reliable. We are building this since many years without any problems. The good thing on is you just get a free cockpit. You're not cluttered up with two wheels. Yes, you take it just into the direction where you want to have it. Also in a harbor, it's just out of your way, and you have the free passageway to walk along here. We have a very deep down cockpit, which is very low, very near to the waterline. This is very important because in a big seaway, if you're sitting deep down, you're making only this movement instead of this movement. So you sit much more comfortable. And you normally don't find that on other boats because they all have to have the aft cabins below. We don't like aft cabins. We think we have a better solution than an aft cabin, especially because of the slapping water, which you normally find there. But you will find that a video on when I show the cabin under the saloon. But having the low cockpit means we sit quite deep down and have a very high coaming all the way around. This is 45 centimeters going down to 40 centimeters. Wherever you sit, you can lean back and can sit in the corners and have a very comfy sitting up here. Also, which you don't find on any other boats nowadays, you have curved seats, so they follow the ergonomic shape, and when the boat heels and you sit on them, you're not nuggling on the flesh. You're sitting actually rested with your backbone and can brace yourself very comfy here or very comfy here. Hold yourself. Steer position is the same. We have a little block in the middle here where you can sit and brace yourself. When you're sitting up here with the wheel, you can brace yourself on here or on the curve of the seat in the back, and this is a bit sloped, so you sit very comfy here as well. The cockpit of the 35 DS is 2.02 meters long, so everybody can lay outstretched here. The benches are 50 centimeters, so this is a comfy place to lay down. The good thing, because we have the canting wheel, we don't need two wheels which are in your way, and we don't have the big wheel which is in your way. Both benches on both sides are continuous. A cockpit can either be 75 centimeters like on our 310 O, where you can brace yourself on the opposite position, or it must be 1.15 meter to get a bracing position in the middle, what we have here, in any position where you can sit down. A feature which again you don't find on many other boats today anymore are the cubby holes. We have 3 of them here, so you can get rid of your winch handles, get your sun cream. The big one down there, even take water bottles, binoculars, rubber boots, big things you might want to store there. Storage is another big point for the cockpit here, because we don't like aft cabins. We have 2 very huge cockpit lockers here. When you open the cockpit lockers, you can grab the lid literally everywhere, and you're always, when you're closing it, you're always with your fingers out of the danger zone, because we don't have this little hook here in the middle and the little curving which you find on other boats. You secure the cockpit locker up here, and then you find in your cockpit locker on this side a very nice organization tools. You have a big board with plastic boxes where you have your ropes and spare parts and winch handles and cleaning tools, and you have lots of hangers for the ropes and the fenders to dry things. They're quite deep. So gas box is down here, takes 2 big 5 kilo bottles. So on the starboard side we have another very deep cockpit locker, which contains a dinghy at the moment. You can have your outboard engine in there, or 3 or 4 folding bikes, and there's a dedicated place for the cockpit table, which just sticks in here and is easy to grab. So here's a small table in the cockpit which is always there, which makes a good handhold here, and where you can lay small things or stand up your glasses. But we have of course a big cockpit table as well. This lives in the cockpit locker here. So you just take that out, and you see this is a very simple system. There's nothing big on it. You just put it behind this here, and then it's very solid. You could actually sit on it, and you can fold it out and make a big cockpit table where you can sit comfy with 4 persons. Well, if you want to leave the cockpit, you just cant the wheel over to the side and have a free entranceway here, and then you can take this out here and can open a real door. So actually when you leave the cockpit, you can go level out to the bathing platform and can come level in. You don't have to climb over it. The bathing platform have a bathing ladder which is in a drawer in the hull, so it doesn't take up any space here. You just draw her out and put her down to go into the water. But this is really easy access into the cockpit when you're going back to in the harbor. So in the back here we have another box which is dedicated for the life raft. The whole lid comes away, and then you have a storage space for your life raft. It did not have to be a container, it could also be a normal bag. And you find the attachment point for the emergency tiller here as well. So the whole cockpit of our Sirius 35 DS is designed for single hand sailing, which is a must if you're with a small crew or only 2 of you, because one of you can always be off watch, occupied with something else, or in the worst case you have to handle the boat yourself. So for that reason, everything what you need at the helmsman position is already there. You have your engine control, the main sheet is just set up here, and for nothing else you have to leave the cockpit. The general winches are quite far back, and all other controls end up here on the top. On this boat, this is an electric winch which operates literally everything: your self-tacking jab sheet, your reefs, the halyards, even in case you have to bring somebody back on board. That's all operated from the top here, from this one side. To have everything clear and organized in the cockpit is something of security as well. So you have a big halyard box here which takes all your lines in here. When you are in the cockpit, you're very sheltered because it's a very deep and totally enclosed cockpit. You have lots of positions where you can click in your life belts, and the life line is running along the middle line of the boat, which is also very important because when you're here you can click yourself in while in the cockpit, and then you start to go around, and this line, which is attached in the middle of the boat, always keeps you on board and is not dragging you around. As soon as you leave the cockpit, you have very good handhold because of the high coach roof, so it's just in a very position where you want to be. And most of our boats are fitted with the solid guardrails, which gives you the possibility actually to stand on them or to sit on them, but you can really lean and rely on them. They hold you on board. If you come to the front deck of the Sirius 35TS, you can brace yourself again very good on the solid guardrail, but as this might be a bit tricky when you are on a seaway, we have the guardrails which are raised up to 120 millimeters in the front, so you can literally walk in the guardrail when you have to come forward when the boat heels. The bowsprit, which you find on this boat here, carries the self-tacking jib and the big jenny, always at hand, and also makes the boat a bit wider in the front, so you can walk next to the furnace, and you can open the pulpit if you want to go down the steps out here. You don't have to do that from up here, you can just open that and go down here. Then we have a deep anchor box and anchor storage here. You see the whole deck is uncluttered, there's no winch on deck. This all lifts under here in the front, which is not only an anchor locker. You have the big anchor winch down here and a chain box which is big enough for 200 meters of chain if you need that or if you want to have that. But you could also have your fenders and your ropes, your wet ropes in here, so you don't need to have that in the cockpit locker in the back. And this stays all clean under the deck, so you're not tipping over it, and no sheets hang around the winch, so it's a very clean deck. On the roof we don't need a spray hood because we have the lip of the roof here which is catching all the water which might come over the deck, and you stay very well protected behind the deck house. So we have all the space to mount solar panels on this boat here, only on a garage, but you can also equip your boat over there, and then you will be really independent just on solar panels, depending on your power consumption, of course. So again, the roof gives you a very good handhold in the right position, and also if you want to enter up here, it's just an easy step. You can walk and stand on a solar panel, they are made for that, and this is just the right height to work on a sail up here. To understand our Sirius deck saloon concept, it's very important to talk about eye levels. The whole construction of the boat is set up around eye levels. That's very important because it's all about the visibility. So if you're standing in the cockpit, you have a very clear look over the coach roof. This is only 1.4 meters, so literally everybody can look over there. If you're sitting at the helm and sitting up here on the coaming, then you have again the visibility over the coach roof and sidewards alongside of it. But if you're sitting down here in the cockpit on the comfortable benches, you have a perfect visibility through the windows like you would normally look through a spray hood, but in this case this is security glass, so it gives you a much better vision than the normal stuff which you find in spray hoods. So if we are going down into the saloon, we're actually not really going down. We are not limber dancing down 8 steps into a companionway. We're just making one step over the sill and just entering the saloon and sitting down in a settee. So being in the saloon, yes, is all about visibility. The basic idea of this concept is that most sailors like nature, so you might want to see it. We have in all the areas which you want to use over day or what is important, so everything without the cabins and without the shower cabin and the toilet, you have the big windows all the way around. So if you're in a galley, if you're at the helmsman station, or if you're sitting up in a saloon here, you always can look out of the windows. And this is so very important, and it will change your kind of sailing as well. So if you have competition around, you might be out and tweaking on your sails, but not everybody is a keen sailor, and not all the family love sailing same as the skipper probably. So one might sit in here after 1.5 hours and just sit on cushions, sit out of the sun, out of the wind, out of the weather. And even on the passage, this is just such a lovely place to see the miles unfold, and enjoy the inside of the saloon even while sailing. But also if you're on an anchorage like we at the very moment, or dried out somewhere, or in a harbor on a rainy day, you enjoy the inside here like a holiday cottage. You can actually do the same what you would do when you're at home, because you have the big windows around and it's all pleasant, and even if the weather's not that fair inside, there's always something to see, and that is the main point of the concept in a Sirius 35DS here. So the settee here is a real U settee, because the entrance is offset. That gives you the possibility to sit opposite to each other. You seat comfy 5 to 6 people here. You have a big table which can go down to make another bed if you want to have a double bed here, but you have also a very nice single bed. If you take off the cushions, there's a lee cloth living under here, which you can put between the benches here, which keeps you in here. I'm using that quite often if I'm single-handed, and even if I have to have a little nap over day. I just pop down here, put my handy on 25 minutes, and when it bells I just get up and have a look out, and if everything's clear I have the next 25 minutes. But it makes a very, very comfy pilot berth up here if you're on watch. So directly opposite of the big settee, on the same level, you find the interior steering position and the chart table. Again, we're just one step away from the cockpit. We have the big glass hatch above us where we can see the sails and the wind indicator, and we have the full visibility all the way around. So the navigation seat goes 40 centimeters up and down, so you can bring yourself into your navigation position. Here you will have your map in front of you, your plotter, your electronic, and the fly-by-wire steering can be taken away. And under here you find a space for your charts in here. And we have a red and white switchable light, which you can also dim down to stay in your night vision. So even if you're sitting down here, you still have the perfect view out of the windows, and you stay very connected to the cockpit, to the crew in the cockpit. But if you bring the seat up again, you have the perfect 360-degree view all around, and you can steer your boat safely from being in here. So if you step further forward, you will find yourself in the galley, and again, visibility and eye level. If I'm standing up in the galley here, somebody sitting in a saloon, somebody sitting at the interior steering or out in the cockpit, you're always on the same eye level, and around this eye level the big windows are placed. So even if you are in charge of the cooking, you're not cast away. You stay up here, and it's very social because you're together with your guests, and it's very short ways over to the table, and you have all the visibility. So standing in a galley, even on a seaway, on a sea passage, you have very good handhold, because you have lots of possibilities to brace yourself. And the very good thing, it's not a huge open room, so you can slide through here on either tack, on this side or on this side, and have a good bracing position everywhere here. But the galley itself, it's a very nice fit out. So you have your hobs down here with the oven underneath, the double sink, lots of storage behind, and then we find lots of drawers. So have a look to all the drawers here. Stuff for the galley, also stuff for the helmsman position here. They're all self-closing. Even if you jam them through, or they're jammed through, they will close very soft. You find more storage here, more storage here, and always quite a surprise, deep storage below the floorboards here. So everything beneath here is very, very easy accessible. So you don't need to get all your guests up to get to the next bottle of wine. You find them directly here, and they stay nicely cooled because this is all below the waterline, and it is where you want to have the weight. You can stuff lots of food in here, lots of things in here. It also goes around the corner here, and more storage behind there as well. So see the lids, they close relatively soft and they stand upright. We're not falling around. And emergency supply is just here. Yes, in the entrance area you find more drawers. One down here for things easy to grab. A very big one under here. And more storage down here, the bins, and deep storage around here. Then, quite important, directly up the entrance, behind the nav station, you will find the oilskin locker. This locker goes all the way in to the hull, so up to here. And it takes the oilies of at least 6 to 8 crew, and you also get your life jackets, your rubber boots, everything down there, and that is really directly at the entrance, so you're not dripping the things through the boat. It's heated by the engine, vented to 3 sides, so this all stays dry and warm. Actually, you're not using it very much, because when it starts raining you usually close the hatch and go inside. So, opposite of the navigation station we have a hidden room. It's actually a workshop. You think I'm kidding? Have a look yourself. You just fold this up here. So you can step down into the man cave. Honestly, this is a very nice utility room. You have a workbench here, a vise, you have all your electrics, all your tools, all your spare parts here. You find drawers, extra storage space, and a direct way to the engine. The engine is built in as the last step of production, so when everything is finished and varnished we just get it down here and slide it backwards, so in case it should come out again, that's very easily done. Everything which needs access on the engine is just in front of you. Here you find the belt, you find the impeller pump, water, oil, everything around. You can access the engine from all the sides as well, so there's a big panel which can be removed here, and the big panels from the cockpit lockers and from the back. You have your filters, fuel filters, directly down here, very nice, accessible, and you have lots of extra space to retrofit things. Here's space for washing machine, and a water maker or generator or all other things you might think of retrofitting later on. Also, with a toolbox down here and the big drawer here, you have a dedicated room for all your tools and all your spares. They're not lying between tomatoes and potatoes, and you don't have to open whole of the boat if you do any service. It's just all down here. Because of the raised saloon, we have totally different possibilities for the interior of the rest of the boat. In fact, this boat has about 6 feet more internal space than you would judge from the outside dimensions. The reason is we are using the widest part of the boat on about 3.5 meters entirely double. You've already seen the deep storage under the saloon. We have something very special down here, so if you like to follow me. Welcome to the owner's cabin of the Sirius 35 TS. Have a look to this room. This is not only a sleeping room, not only a bed. You have a bed of 2.05 meters to 1.6 meter wide without narrowing to the end, with lots of room above. But it is actually an extra room, an extra little saloon, where you can at least have a hideaway and can sit out of the way of the others for 2 hours, close the door. You're not feeling claustrophobic because you have the big hatch, the windows, the view out to the water. This cabin is centered in the very, very center of the boat. This is where Alan MacArthur would sleep on a circumnavigation, because here you have no movement. It's just in the gravity center of the boat, just above the keel, in the very middle of the boat. No slamming water like you're used from aft cabins, no rattling chain like in the back, and you can have a lee cloth rigged up in between here, so that makes a perfect sea berth. Other than that, you have a big door under here, a big cupboard, and the door to the ensuite toilets. The ensuite heads are also typical for Sirius luxury styles, with lots of light and very nice room in here. Lots of choices and customization possibilities for the wash basins. Could be more sea boil, higher tub, it could be electric toilet. You don't get a shower in here because we have a separate shower cabin, which makes the usability of these rooms much better. You also got lots of cupboards, which are normally on other boats taken by the space for the septic tank. We have a big septic tank in front here, which 140 liters. So we've all the space here for cupboards where you want to have them. You sit also very near to the center of the boat, so you have relatively little motion, and you can brace yourself in a seaway. You sit facing backwards, and yeah, that makes a very nice combination of style and usability. But one of the nicest features of design here is these heads are ensuite for both of the cabins. So whether you're coming from the front cabin or from the owner's cabin, you have your own separate entrance into the heads, and of course can lock the doors to the other side, so you don't need to go through the open space in your nightgown if you go to the toilet at night. In the front of the boat you find another owner's cabin. It's actually a very spacious room. You have lots of lights with the hatches and the windows, lots of room to move around, and it's a very luxurious bed. So it's actually difficult to decide. You've seen the owner's cabin before. Some people use this as an owner's cabin, which means if you have your mother-in-law or good friends on board, you don't have to move out your own cabin to leave them the good cabin. They're actually equal. On both cabins you have the ensuite toilet rooms and heads, and this cabin have lots of space. You have a place to sit, to put your socks and feet on. You have a big cupboard, and you have huge doors under here. They are 70 centimeters deep and are much nicer to organize than cupboards. On the starboard side, opposite of the heads and the owner's cabin, you have a separate shower cabin. I guess this is the only way to use a shower on board really properly on a daily basis, because while both of you are getting up, one can use the heads and the other one can use the shower. This is a total enclosed GRP structure, so it's very easy to clean. You have full standing height up here, but you might also like to sit down and make good use of the space here as well. The funny thing might appear to you, what the door we have opened in the first place is, it looks like the shower cabin door, but it really is the front cabin door. This is just a storage space for the front cabin door, because doors get in your way over day and you want to have the ventilation area. The real shower cabin door is the one inside here, and this closes this direction and it's held by magnets. So after taking a shower, you just open the hatch, and after about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on the wind, it's all dry in here, and it's very, very little maintenance to clean it. So welcome on board of our Sirius 35 DS. I'm going to show you and explain you a bit about the maneuverability of this boat. There are some similarities to other boats, like the position of the rudder, which is about here, and then you need about 40 centimeter of rudder technique. Well, and then came the differences to other boats. On other boats you then will have about 2 meter aft cabin. We don't like aft cabin and think we have a nicer solution, and for that reason we could place the engine just here, which makes the sail drive about here and the propeller here. This is a distance of about 50 centimeters to the rudder. We have a half skeg rudder, so the main impact of the engine water is on the top section of the rudder, where the half skeg is protecting it. And together with the big rudder we have, that gives you a kind of a back thruster, which you don't see, don't pay for, no power consumption. You can just bring the boat into the direction where you want to go to by turning the rudder over to one side and giving a little prop wash. And you see what's happened? The boat just goes sideways into the direction where you have the rudder turned. The important thing is we are not talking of prop walk. It's not the direction where the propeller walks to. It is the direction where the water from the propeller is pressing against the rudder and is pressing us to the side. So in difference to prop walk, you can use this prop wash in any direction you want and as hard as you want it and as hard as you need it. Which means if I want to go over to this side, I'm just turning the rudder over to the other side. Now it stands like this, and when I give a bit of forward throttle, the water is pressing against the rudder on this side and will kick the back of the boat over to this side. See what's happened? I'm just giving a little wash, going slightly into reverse, and you see how the boat walks over to this side. And you can maneuver her with a little training on about 7 to 8 centimeters. If you're too near to this side there, you just turn the rudder over to the other side, give it a little wash, and you bring her away from here. And you can do that as often as you like. So just a little forward wash, and the back of the boat will be taken over to this side. In combination with the deep forefoot, which makes the boat stick deeper into the water, you're not blown away in the harbor very much. So, and with the maneuverability in the back, which you might combine with a boat twister, you can keep the boat always under control and can always bring her directly into the spot where you want to have her. So, as I said, with very little training, you can maneuver her on about 7 to 8 centimeters onto the spot where you want to have her. So again, we're quite near here. So if that is too near, we just turn the rudder over to this side and give it a little wash, and we will bring the boat away over to this side. But on the other hand, with very little training, you can maneuver the boat on about 7 to 8 centimeters onto the distance where you want to have her. So have a look. I'm just going sidewards around here. Have a look to the flagstaff. You just turn her on a spot. And you might turn her back into the other direction. Same maneuverability, as we are not talking of a prop walk, which only walks into one direction, but of a prop wash. And you see, this is not it's not rocket science. I'm doing nothing with the rudder. Actually, I just have it over to one side, and I'm giving a little forward throttle, and that brings the boat over to this side. You can do that even in fast motion. If you give her more wash, she comes over much faster. And you might turn her on the spot. We are not only talking about a very good prop wash on a rudder, but also of a very big rudder, which means even by just turning the rudder, we can bring the boat very hard over and very fast over. If I'm coming into the harbor and want to go backwards in there, I'm just turning the rudder around. And if I go in the very moment where I go into backwards, the boat continues to turn, which it had started, and then I can move backwards into the bay where I want to go to. The big rudder helps also by going backwards. Like any other boat, you need a bit of speed to come into the direction where you want to go to, but the prop wash brings you in the position that you can steer the boat over to the other side. So I'm now giving a bit of rudder, a bit of wash, and you see how the boat is kicked in the back over to the other side. And if that is still too near, I'm just doing it again. A bit of rudder, a bit of wash on the rudder, and the boat turns on the very spot, and you can bring her over to the side where you want to have her. That makes harboring very, very easy. So if we want to go over to this cleat and this is too far away, you just get her over to there, like this. And if you now have a boat next to you and want to go over to this side, you just turn the rudder over to the other side, give it a wash, and the back of the boat is moving over to this side. And if there's a jetty is too near, just do it again, little wash, and you can hold her in the back where you want to have her. In the front she's quite steady because she sticks deep into the water and is not blown away by the wind. So easy, but of course you can have a boat thruster to make that easy in the front as well. So if you go backwards, it's like on any other boat, you need a little bit of speed to get maneuverability, but because we have a big rudder, you can steer her very soon, very directly into the direction where you want to have her. Let's say you have to go a long way and don't like to stand like this. The canting wheel comes in very handy, because you can cant it over to the side and stand in front of the wheel like you would do driving a car. And facing into backwards direction, if your throttle directly next to you, and do your long passage backwards, driving into the harbor. So if you find yourself in a bay and you find another boat in front of you and you have to turn around and go out again, you know you have a big rudder, so you can, even with some speed, turn the rudder totally over to one side. The boat will start turning immediately, and as soon as you go into backwards, slightly into backwards, she continues to turn. And you use your prop wash next, just by having the rudder over to this side. We have about 2.5 to 3 meters more space than the boat length here between these boats. So I'm going to use this space, going backwards until I haven't room anymore, and then I'm turning the rudder over to the other side and using my prop wash to turn the boat on the very spot. Going into reverse again. Doing that again. If you find yourself going into a tiny area where you find no place to go, so you have to go out again, you know you have a big rudder to rely on, so you simply turn the rudder totally over to one side, go into reverse, and see what's happened. The boat is turning on her heels, or you might say on her keels, because it's a twin keel, or like the English say, on a sixpence. So, and the boat continues the movement. You can steer backwards, of course, if you want, but you know you have a big prop wash. So you just turn the rudder over to this side, give a wash, and she turns on the very spot where she is, and you can go out of the bay again. This is actually at the very moment turning against the wind even, so the bow is being slightly dragged over from the wind to this side. So I'm using my big rudder now to go backwards and bring her over to this side, and using the space I have. And when I go forward again, I'm using the prop wash and turn the boat on the very spot. And we've done a 360 in a quite narrow area here without being washed away to one or the other side. Thank you for watching the video. If you like to have more information, just give us a call or send us an email. You find more pictures and lots of more things to explore on our website at www.sirius-werft, that's werft.de. Bye.